Friends, hello everyone. We haven't even had time to recover from that wild story about the SBU general from Odessa, whose wife was found to have a Russian passport and whose family has millions of dollars in assets, when suddenly a new character appeared, also from the SBU. Today, we're going to look into the story of Kostiantyn Semeniuk, the head of the security service of Ukraine in Poltava region. How instead of protecting the region he's in charge of, and us, Semeniuk and his family got rich during the war. Luxury cars, elite real estate, and suspicious deals. How is this even possible? Let's figure it out together. But first, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. And don't forget to like and leave your comments. This is very important for the development of the community. Well, there's no more time to waste. Let's get started right away. Kostiantyn Semeniuk, a native of the Chernivtsi region. His career in the security service began with the position of a simple operative. But since 2018, he has headed the Department of Counterintelligence Protection of the Economy. His wife, Marina, is an inspector at the Chernivtsi tax office, a typical family of civil servants, if not for one thing. But after the full-scale invasion, Mr. Semeniuk's career skyrockets. Kremenchuk, Vinnytsia, and finally Poltava. And so, in August 2025, he is officially appointed as the head of the security service of Ukraine in the Poltava region. But alongside his rapid career rise, other details emerged. Expensive cars, luxury apartments, business-class flights, and even a resort complex in the Carpathians. And most importantly, these assets are often not registered to Semeniuk himself, but of course to his relatives. A classic story. Why? But journalists from the Schemes Project conducted an excellent investigation and found out that Mr. Semeniuk really likes, for example, to drive premium cars. Well, for instance, a 2020 Mercedes GLE 350. Formerly, it was bought by Mr. Semeniuk's father-in-law, 68-year-old Vesel Hushtik, for $75,000. But the speeding tickets. For this Mercedes, it was actually Kostiantyn Semeniuk who received them. In the footage from the video surveillance, the head of the SBU in Poltava region is also seen behind the wheel. But friends, the story with the Audi Q8 is even more interesting because in 2023, Semeniuk's father-in-law bought this SUV for 68,000 hryvnias. Just for a second, that's 33 times cheaper than the market value. And the most interesting thing is, who actually sold the car for such a price? Show me. I want to buy one for myself too. It turns out that it was Vinnytsia businessman Andriy Opanashuk, and at the same time, the Security Service of Ukraine, where Semeniuk was the deputy head, was conducting an investigation into the legality of Opanashuk's purchase of the Vinnytsia lamp factory. After the investigation, the businessman received a positive assessment from the Security Service of Ukraine, and then, as journalists from the publication Schemes explain, he sold the car to the family of the very same official who conducted that investigation. Pretty convenient, isn't it? The journalists approached Mr. Opanashuk with a question, "Tell us, please, why was the price like that?" And he replies, "I sold it to a reseller." But there was no reseller in the chain of owners. When journalists ask him, when they ask Semeniuk himself about this whole story, he says, "I don't know," turns around and walks away. A similar story, friends, is happening with real estate as well. Because in November 2021, Semeniuk's wife's mother bought a 120 square meter apartment in a prestigious residential complex in Chernivtsi. The seller was Titus Skripa. He is the father of businessman Romeo Skripa, who was investigated by the local tax authorities for millions of hryvnias in tax evasion. You know what's interesting? Is that at that time, who was working in that very same tax office? That's right, Semeniuk's wife, Mrs. Marina, whom we've already mentioned. And the apartment was sold for 1.5 million hryvnias, which is half the market price. Right now, just for the record, such apartments cost around 10 million. When journalists asked Romeo Skripa why the price was so low, he replied that they should ask his father. And regarding the investigation, he says, "Listen, we were acquitted, everything was checked, we're as clean as a whistle." In 2023, Semeniuk's father-in-law bought land plots in the Carpathians, part of a resort complex with cottages, swimming pools, saunas, and so on. Everything our SBU guys love. Officially, the deal was valued at 22,000 hryvnias. 22,000 hryvnias. But the real value of such property is about $300,000. This business is managed by the entrepreneur Serhiy Perepelitsia. You know what's interesting? It's that Semeniuk left comments under the photos of Mr. Perepelitsia's wife, which could indicate that they have a rather close relationship. Well, they must know each other, right? When journalists asked about the deal, Perepelitsia said, "Which Kostiantyn Semeniuk? I don't want to discuss this." And he also leaves. The official income of Semeniuk's father-in-law over 25 years is just over 900,000 hryvnias. The father-in-law's wife officially hasn't earned anything in Ukraine. Semeniuk himself, as a civil servant, receives about $3,000 a month. So where did the money for such million-worth assets come from? The Security Service of Ukraine explained to the scheme's journalists, it goes like this. The mother-in-law worked in Italy for over 25 years, also in Israel, and they say all the acquired funds are legal savings. But is it really possible to earn that much? We don't know exactly where she worked, but okay, we know how people go to Italy, where they work there, but is it really possible to earn that kind of money there and buy several cars worth hundreds of thousands of dollars and such expensive real estate? Well, please share your answer in the comments. So, friends, what do we have here? A high-ranking official of the Security Service of Ukraine who heads the Poltava region. Yes, it's not a frontline region, but it borders and feels the impact of the war from Kharkiv region. With Sumy region, where Russian scum have now launched active hostilities, he gains access to luxury cars and real estate through rather suspicious deals. The sellers are often individuals involved in cases being investigated by his own agency or by his wife's agency. The prices are dozens of times lower than the market value. Is it a coincidence, a confluence of circumstances, or maybe just luck? Or is it a system where power is used for personal enrichment? I still have a question, friends. Will law enforcement respond to such facts? How is it that during a war, some officials are getting so wildly rich? Who is supposed to investigate this? And will it actually be investigated? These are the kinds of questions that we would probably like to get answers to. What other questions do you still have, friends? And how would you comment on this rather strange story when in just 1 week, 2 top officials of the Security Service of Ukraine are caught? First, with money of completely unknown origin, which turns into property, wealth, luxury cars, estates, and so on and the like. And in some cases, like with the SBU officer from Odessa, even the wife is involved. Russian passports are found. Please write to me in the comments. Thank you for watching this video until the end. If you're interested, we'll continue this kind of series. Videos. Thank you, take care of yourselves, and see you next time.